everyone. Welcome to the Epic Vision Zone. My name is Jane Applegath, former award-winning stockbroker, television producer, scriptwriter, yoga instructor, and serial entrepreneur, now founder of the Epic Vision Zone. I'm here to help you fulfill your dream's big vision, grow the power of your voice, and achieve the impact you're meant to have in the world. Because what you say and why you say it is the key to influencing more people, growing financially free, and living a life of more abundance and joy. Henry David Thoreau wrote, "Go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life that you have imagined." Such is the true story of our guest today, Jennifer Meyers, founder and chief confectionist at Phoenix-based superfood confectionary, Earth Sugar, a magical place where she says she creates the purest form of joy. Growing up in Harrington Park, New Jersey, Jennifer was surrounded by food delights from her grandparents' local butcher shop. Packed with homegrown produce, deli delights, and imported candy, her grandparents created an experience that not only made them small-town celebrities, but linked Jennifer's passion forever to the goodness of fresh and delicious food. It was at the age of 12 that Jennifer suddenly developed a stomach disorder that became a nightmare of hospital trips, illnesses, and severe food phobias. After years of pain and suffering, Jennifer took matters into her own hands, learning absolutely everything she could about health foods and nutrition. Educating herself about how food was grown, she became a virtual encyclopedia of fruits, herbs, nuts, seeds, flours, fats, and everything in between, making her holistic eating one of her life's mission. Fast forward to Jennifer's dream of creating a first-of-its-kind superfood confectionery that specializes in raw organic desserts, energetic snacks, clean label confections, and adaptogenic pantry items. The company name Earth Sugar is fun, enchanting, and significant, just like the woman who is filling our hearts and souls with delicious goodness and joy from a magical place where happy meets healthy. Welcome, Jennifer. What a pleasure it is to have you here and joining us.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited, and that was so sweet. That made me sound much better than I think I am over there.
No,
thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's all you, and it's an amazing story, and I can't wait to unpack this. So, Jennifer, your path to getting here has been a rocky and sometimes painful one. Share with us what sparked your mission to make holistic eating and healing your life's mission, and why you became a leading expert in live food cuisine.
Yeah, so when I was a little girl running around in Harrington Park, New Jersey, when I tell you I was a garbage disposal eater. I could eat Funyuns, hot dogs. I would eat cold hot dogs for every meal, just straight out of the fridge. Goldfish, you name it, I was ingesting it. And it was fun, food to me was really relaxing. It was just, I was snacking, I was a kid, I was having fun, I was in the meat market, my grandparents would always give me free candy. So I never thought about food at all. It was something that was there, that was cool and exciting, but it wasn't harboring on my life. And so I get to high school, and this is when, people start talking to boys, they're going to parties, they're meeting friends, and my stomach just totally revolted against me. And it really felt like it was something that happened overnight. And I don't know why. I'm still trying to go back and see if there was anything emotionally triggering that really finally set it off. But I went from kind of not being able to eat the cheese on a pizza to just completely avoiding all dairy, gluten, soy, meat products. I had really severe gastrointestinal issues that I would be out of school for 10 to 20 days at a time. And it was embarrassing because, you're 13, I was 14, and in freshman year of high school, I couldn't really go out, couldn't really go to the parties, and I didn't talk about it too much because when I did, I was kind of picked on for wanting attention or just being the one who kind of couldn't hang out with the whole crowd. And I really, really took it to heart. It was really upsetting as someone who loved being around people and, who loved being a part of parties and events and was always just kind of with a group, to then slowly becoming so isolated, it was really, really hard. And so I go to Penn State, and I am at this point where I had a really robust friend group, and the stress of my stomach started to kind of change my personality a bit. I wasn't this bubbly, happy girl. I became kind of just unapproachable, a little sad, a little confused all the time. I didn't want to go out anymore, so I was just hanging out alone at home. And at this point, I hadn't really talked to my parents that much about it. Therapy wasn't anything that we spoke about in my family, so I was just kind of really dealing with all of this by myself. And I get to Penn State, and I find myself kind of at this crossroads because my mom is literally mailing me up food every week to put in the microwave, because Penn State didn't have a robust gluten-free section, and I was, starving. And it sucked. I was like, the alternative of eating healthy is eating gluten-free Domino's pizza. I think they had gluten-free pretzels in the auditorium, the cafeteria. Some weird chicken, like bologna, salami. I was eating, I don't even know. I was like, I think back to my college diet. I was eating Fruity Pebbles for breakfast before class, tater tots. Yeah, it was the only thing that was available. And I was like, I can't eat this. Like, this is disgusting. So I begged my mom to let me bring up my car my freshman year, and it was costly to have your car up there freshman year because most freshmen don't. But I'm like, I have to drive to the grocery store. Like, I need to figure out what to eat because I am either going to starve myself to death or develop, become obese, develop all these issues. I had so much stomach problems, and I'm trying to eat gluten-free stuff, and it's all garbage. It was all like gluten-free breads with fillers and cane sugar, cereals like Fruity Pebbles. I was like, I can't eat this. For every meal, I was having Fruity Pebbles and cheese balls. So my mom was like, take the car, do your thing. I take the car. The first day, I drive over to Wegmans, which was, oh my God, the biggest grocery store I've ever been in. I think I spent 8 hours in there the first day. And I brought a binder, and I had my notebooks, I had all my colored pencils, and I picked up every single package in that store, wrote down what ingredients were in it, and then all night just like Googling, Instagramming, figuring out what all these new foods were. And this is kind of when Instagram was kicking off, the healthy food Instagrams were kicking off. So I was like, I'm going to get all fit and healthy. Let me, start up this Instagram. I called it Healthy Fit Delicious, and I just started posting. And it's so funny because my first couple pictures are horrendous. The recipes were so bad. I remember eating them and being like, this tastes disgusting, but I'm going to keep trying. Like, I would have chia seeds stuck in my teeth. The first time I cut an avocado, I cut it like this way instead of the, flat horizontal. I was cutting it vertical. And my roommate's like, what are you doing? That is so wrong. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just really trying here. And it was a lot of trial and error, but I fell in love with posting on this Instagram, and I started to feel in love with how I was feeling. My bloating went away. I was able to go out a little bit more. I had a little bit of my old self back. I didn't feel as like toxic. And one day I'm out at a party at Penn State, and someone comes up to me and she's like, "You're healthy, fit, delicious." I'm like, what? She's like, I've been following your Instagram since I got to Penn State, and you're the reason why I started getting healthy. And I think about this girl because I didn't get her name, and she was probably, she was drinking all day, but it was like a feeling in my heart that I had never experienced, where I was going through all this stuff thinking like no one was watching me or paying attention. And someone like literally came out of the woodworks and was like, you should write a cookbook. And I was like, what? That is so strange. Like, that's not something I thought of. I'm just trying to survive here. But that little interaction, it got me thinking of, okay, maybe what I'm going through now with my stomach will eventually have purpose. And I clung on to that with every part of my being. And it became my mantra, make your pain your purpose, that I held on to for years and years and years on end until, here we are today. But it was just, a girl with a stomach ache who didn't really know what to do, who just started asking questions. And then it was, the gluten-free. I was the weird kid then, which is funny because now
Yeah.
everyone's doing it. But when I was bringing zoodles to class and making like mousse out of avocados and doing all that kind of creative stuff, back then people wouldn't touch me with a pole. They were like, "Ew, I don't want to eat that. Like, I don't want to eat a date-based cake." And now, people line up at the farmer's market for it. So I was just kind of waiting for my time, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds like you were ahead of your time, but it's interesting. I love that you said you made your pain your purpose. That is so profound because so many of us, we'll go through that type of situation, but we don't take it upon ourselves to find the solution or to make something better. But you did. You took the initiative, and I know you and I have talked about the universe and stories and vision and all that, and I think a lot of that had to do with it as well, your imagination and your script writing and so on and so forth. But I think that's fabulous. I love that. Make your pain your purpose. And here you are today, and that girl coming up to you was someone who said, "You're not alone." Because I felt when you were telling that story up until that day, you felt alone in your struggle. But that sort of turned on the light bulb and you said, "I'm not alone in this. Hey, there are other people who could use my help." So, and here we are today. So I am so excited to delve into your journey of your entrepreneurship because you started really young and, you're still very young. Give us an idea of how you stepped into your entrepreneurship and how that came to be, because that's such an exciting story. I love it.
Yeah, so my parents, John and Mary Meyers, they own a company called Pumping Solutions. They opened it when I was 1 year old. So they've been in business now for 26 years. So I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, and everyone worked for my parents. My grandmother did, my uncle did work. All the workers that my dad has hired, they've stayed with him for 26 years, which is incredible. That just tells you the type of people that my parents are. They create families wherever they go. It's not just a work boss relationship. It's a clan. It's a group. They all support each other. And beyond that, I had my grandparents own the Harrington Park meat market. So I had two of these kind of businesses surrounding my life all the time. And I also had my grandma. She lived in my house when we were growing up. She was a school teacher in the Bronx for 30 plus years. And by the time I was 4, I was, dictating stories, coming up with crazy jargon. And when I got a little older, 6, 7, I started to tell stories that she would write down. And we actually wrote about 15 children's books together. So I always, from 7, 8 years old, my grandma was telling me I was going to be an author and then I should write movies and start a business. So it was always there. It's, people ask me where this came from. And to me, there was never another option. Even when I was in high school, I remember sitting down with the guidance counselor and she asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I joked and I was like, "I'm going to be a star." And she's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I don't know. I have always just felt since I was a kid that I have a really interesting mix of I have a business mind. I have a massive amount of creativity, sometimes too much where it keeps me up at night. But that balance on top of just the wealth of support I've gotten from my family and, my grandparents and my friends throughout the years, to me, I've always felt this just weight, this thing in my heart where it's like, your time is coming. Like you will know when. And so last year I was working in Brooklyn as the director of research and development for a big vegan yogurt company. I was R&Ding, so research and development. I was creating all the products. I was basically taking a small recipe, then figuring out how to scale it, how to make it in a big old production facility. And when I tell you, I had zero training for that. I'm a PR graduate from Penn State, but I was just so dedicated to learning and to figuring stuff out. And that is a trait that you need to have in business, because I'm sure you understand when you start a business, you can't text someone and ask them for help because every business is so different. Every creative concept is coming from someone's brain. So there's no rules. And I love that. I love when there's no rules, and I can work from other mentors and I can seek out kind of help, but there's no direct answer of that feeling of finding that answer. And that's the old journalist in me too, when you ask questions and you get it and you're digging. And I feel like that's kind of the same thing I do every day here. And even with my team and my staff, I'm always trying to find where, the gold pieces are and where the treasures are and where the fun ideas are that we can then dive into that and, dig even more. So yeah, like that spirit has just really, truly always been in me. And I don't know what I would do elsewise, other than this. I think about it all the time. I'm like, what would I do? I'm like, nah, I could do this for other companies, other shapes and forms, but I am so transparent and so enthusiastic and passionate about everything that I walk into that it's really hard to do that for something that's not coming from my own heart and my own brain.
I understand. Yeah, I understand completely. The heart of creativity is curiosity. And that's what you have, is curiosity. It's how can we do this a different way? What can we invent that'll make it different? The uniqueness, I love it. And like you said, it's all about having fun and then finding those little pockets and seeing it come to fruition. And that's the exciting part. Oh my gosh, I love it. It's all about the manifestation. But first of all, you have to have the curiosity to ask what is possible. Because if you don't have that, then there's basically nowhere to go. But that's the heart of that's who you are. That's at the heart of who you are. You're curious, endlessly curious. And I know Jennifer, so I can say that for sure. I know her and I just love her enthusiasm and her questions. So I loved your story. You shared with me, you moved to Arizona on a wing and a prayer. Seriously. Take us back to the day that you decided to move and what transpired when you landed to your first orders. And the reason I say this is because several entrepreneurs overthink what they want to do or where they want to go. And what happens is they end up planning all their lives, but they never take that step. You were the complete opposite. You just said, I'm going for it. So that's why I said on a wing and a prayer. But so share that story because I absolutely love it.
I get chills when I talk about it so I'm sitting in my Brooklyn apartment and I had just finished a 2-month crazy brain dump of ideas. I had 8 whiteboards. I had probably 120 recipes, 20 different brand names, concepts, colors. And I lived in like a 500 square foot studio. So I'd wake up and I'd be like, oh my God, if any of my friends come in here, they are going to think I'm crazy because I had this idea to create a superfood confectionery for years. I actually wrote a short story with my grandma called Willy's Ex-Wife. And the concept was that Willy Wonka had a wife who started to develop severe IBS over the years because her husband would only feed her candy. So she decides to divorce Willy. She goes, I'm going to open my own factory right next door where fruit is candy, hemp seeds are sprinkles, and I'm going to make it so cute and colorful that I'll trick all the little kids to come into my factory and put Willy Wonka out of business. So I had loved the concept, and I was like building brands, building colors, and I'm like looking at all this stuff on my walls, and I'm like, I can't start this in Brooklyn. Everyone wears black. The sun doesn't shine. And I personally felt like I didn't belong there, which, by the way, was a really hard thing it was a hard pill for me to swallow because as someone who really wanted to be in business, you think New York is, the cream of the crop. And I just felt like the loneliest, saddest girl in Brooklyn living alone, working really hard, no friends. COVID was absolutely, it was the worst place to be at the time. So I was like, if I want to do this, I can't do it here. And I can't go back to New Jersey because then I'm going to be asking my mom and dad questions and I'm never going to have, the guts to do it, right? Because I'm going to be planning and planning and planning and I'm going to be asking them questions. Is this good? Is this good? And they can't see what I'm envisioning. So I was like, I don't know. I'm going to fly to Arizona. Maybe I'll go to Colorado. Maybe I'll drive to California. I had saved a great amount of money for someone my age. So I was like, I can take a few months to just explore, learn about new places, just see what I want to do. And at the time, this guy named Joey Rizzo had been messaging me on Instagram. And we went to high school together, Northern Valley Regional High School of Old but we had never met. We were just kind of friends who were talking through Instagram. And he had mentioned something about that we both do yoga. And he was just like, have you ever been to Arizona? I think you like it here. And I was like, all right, maybe I'll start in Arizona. So I literally bought that plane ticket 45 minutes after messaging Joey. And he must have thought I was crazy because I was like, all right, well, I'm going to be there on Monday. And this was Friday. I'm like, I'm going to land on Monday. Can you pick me up from the airport? He's like, sure. Okay. I don't know who this girl is. And he had no idea just how much on a mission I was because I had packed up all my recipes, a couple of my bright, colorful clothing. This apron came with me, and I was like, I'm just gonna go. And I just went. I packed up a bag of things. I booked a one-way ticket, landed here in Phoenix. Joey picked me up from the airport. I was like, nice to meet you. He brought me dinner. I was like, that was sweet. And he dropped me off at my Airbnb. And when I got to the Airbnb, I had set up, my webcam. I was like, all right, I'm going to start vlogging and X, Y, Z. And I spent 5 days hiking. I hiked about 110 miles out here. And I just did thinking, creative thinking, just getting it straight. Coming from New York to Arizona, the first 3 nights, I hysterically cried in bed because it was so quiet. It was so, loud in Brooklyn that I was like, I can't even think straight. And someone who's super, super creative, if you're already thinking a lot, to have that excess noise, it was hard for me to kind of, weed through it all. So I felt like when I landed here, I was like, I can think straight. I can relax. I can breathe. I can be outside. And for a couple months, I just, ran around the world and fell in love with the earth again. And it's so funny because that's, what drew me to food and to healing. It was always just eat from the earth, eat from the earth. And one day, Joey and I are in Colorado. We were going everywhere these months. I was in Denver. And I was like, telling him I wanted to start this business and that I wanted to do raw cakes and confections and make happy, fun, and so for me, selfishly, to find happiness and joy in eating again after I've been, just given rice cakes and vegetables and fruits, I wanted to do something a little bit more elevated and full of love and happiness. And I was like, people are always, they're always saying sugar is bad, but earth sugar is the best sugar out there. It's the purest form of energy. And I literally said that, and he was like, earth sugar. And I was like, what? He's like, earth sugar. And I was like, earth sugar. I was like, oh my gosh, yes. So I was like, I have to move here. I have to get an apartment. And so I was like, I'm going to move to Arizona. I'm just going to stay here and start the business here. And he's like, oh, well, we have these farmers markets. You can set up, every weekend. And I was like, no way. In Brooklyn and New York, it's not like that. It's really hard for an artisan to just get started. You have to kind of figure out for a year what you're doing, build your website, get funding. I started my whole company with $2,000 and I did my own graphics. I built my own packaging. I did all my own formulas. And I just set up at a farmer's market out of the blue, carefree, day one, sold out of everything. Then I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. Let me go to the coffee shop down the street and see if they like it. And I happened to, the CEO of the coffee chain happened to be there that day. And he's like, oh, well, can you get this bar into all 7 of my locations? And I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, sure, I can try. So he gave me a month. I figured it out in a month. I got my packaging in a month. I was producing 500 to 600 bars myself, hand making with my thumbs. And it was literally like this role. Like I just said yes to everything. I didn't say no to anything. And, now I'm saying no to things because you gotta have to pick and choose. But in the beginning, someone was like, you want to try this? It's like, yes, this, yes, that, sure. Yeah. Like, let's just do it. Let me just put out a feeler online. And I did that to launch my website. I just put out a little ad on Facebook and was like, hey guys, I started my company Earth Sugar. Send me $25 via Venmo if you're interested in trying my products. I got 200 people send me Venmos, and I had no products yet. I had nothing made. So in 3 days, I literally made this all up. Like, people are like, how did you come up with this? And they were all recipes I had in my books for years that I was making for myself. And I picked my top 3. And my top 3 are now my Classic Crunch energy bars, my Sunflower Crunchies, and my Caramel Micro Cake. And I made it up. I was like, I'm just going to send it. And then since then, it's obviously been refined and everything is much more beautiful and focused. But then it was just, I'm just going to do it. Because if I don't do it now, someone's going to scare me and I'm not going to take this leap. And I credit Joey because Joey was like, yeah, just do it. And he had no idea what he was starting when he said that to me.
I love it. I mean, it's really just the fact that you took the bull by the horns and there was no fear. You just decided that it was time. It was your time. And I truly believe that you manifested all of this, whether you know it or not. Like before, when you were writing those stories and saying to your counselor that you were going to be a star. I mean, you are still so young. And I'm telling people, you haven't even been in business a whole year yet. And it's just crazy how things are happening. I met Jennifer at the market, at the farmer's market. I have to tell everyone because that's how we connected. And I was just so taken by her enthusiasm. I walked right up to her and I said, wow, you're going to be huge because you're so enthusiastic about what you're selling. So tell us about, I'm so excited for this young woman. I mean, I hope people are listening because this is something that we all have to learn as entrepreneurs is sometimes just go for it. If there's mistakes, we'll figure out how to fix it. If there's setbacks, well, we'll figure that out too. But the worst thing is that you can do as an entrepreneur is talk yourself out of it or actually run it by too many people. Because I think if you had gone back home and spoken to your parents about it, you'd probably still be there trying to plan it out. Because there are too many naysayers, because let's face it, it is a scary proposition. But when you don't know any different, you don't know what's in your way. And that's actually sometimes a good thing. So what makes Earth Sugar products so different from what's out there? What is your uniqueness besides Jennifer Meyers?
So there's a couple of things. Number one is all of my products were designed with digestion in mind. And so what that means is I studied many different diets. I've done every single thing under the sun. I've done keto, Whole30, paleo, Ayurvedic. I've been raw vegan. I've been a fruitarian. I've tried it all. And at the end of the day, I gathered from all of my studies that every single food has an effect on someone's body. Whether if you have apples, it makes you gassy, or nuts and almond butter, and everybody has some sort of sensitivity. If you go get a food sensitivity test, they're going to tell you you're sensitive to 400 foods. It's like really, really hard to try to weed out and eliminate things. So when I was going through all of my digestive issues, all these doctors were pulling things away from me. I mean, everything. But at the end of the day, I was only eating 5 different foods. So I started learning more about how to formulate everything where each food was in there at just an equal amount, where each part of the food was helping one another digest into your body. I really love the way how I feel when I do have fats and fruits. And I find that my digestion and my energy is a lot better when everything is well balanced instead of having some overwhelming amount of dates or some overwhelming amount of coconut oil and everything. It sounds so silly. It's like equal balancing. So all of my products are so carefully formulated, and people report to me, they're like, I have the worst stomach in the world and I feel awesome when I eat your bars. And I'm like, yeah, because I developed them because I myself can't, like if I ate half a jar of almond butter, I would be sick. Anyone would be sick. But if you're having a little tablespoon mixed with little dates and a little fats, then, you know, it's digesting in your body in a way that isn't harmful. And all of my products are small, where the portions are huge. It's a little bite. They're cut and they're portioned in a size that it's really even hard to overeat them, because I did design them to be nutritionally dense, where you eat an earth sugar product and you're full, whereas you eat, you know, a whole bunch of Skinny Pop, or you eat a piece of cake, or you spoon some ice cream, and you find that you can eat ever, you know, because those products are designed to be binged. My products are designed to fill you up. And when I first started talking about this at the market, people were like, oh, I don't believe you. I could eat this whole thing. I could eat this whole cake, this whole bag of bars. And they'd come back the next week and be like, I still have some left over. And I wouldn't get upset that they didn't want to purchase, because I was like, this is why I do this. I'm doing that because everything in the store, it's full of natural flavors, which manipulate the texture, the mouthfeel, and they manipulate the actual, you know, the food substance itself. So it tricks your brain into thinking you're getting you're getting nutrition from that food ingredient, but you're not. It's really not there. So that's why they'll add natural flavors to keep you going all night long. Other things like sugar alcohols, erythritol, stevia, even monk fruit, it doesn't have as an intense of a digestive reaction on some people, but it doesn't taste good. And at the end of the day, what I found throughout my whole life, whether I was concerned with my digestive health or my fitness level or anything, my brain satisfaction was like the number one thing. Because no matter what, you can tell a human that they have to be keto or have to eat fats or whatever. Everybody's going to have a day where you want some sugar, or you want a piece of cake, or you want to celebrate your life, or you want to be a human being. And those moments don't have to hurt you. You know, the happiest moments in our life are paired with literally the most unhealthy food items. And that to me was like, why? You know, why is my birthday one of the saddest days of the year for me? Because I hadn't had a birthday cake for 20 years. And I always thought about my wedding. I was like, what am I going to do on my wedding? Am I going to be the only one who's not having a good time at her own wedding? And so that's kind of where all those ideas came from. So people, even with, you know, who watch their blood sugar with diabetes, everything is low glycemic. The sugar, or even use maple syrup, it's such a low insignificant amount that it's in at like 0.3 grams per bar. It's so tiny. And it's just in there to make you feel good. Sometimes, you know, having a little maple syrup, having dates, having those things it does something to your brain. And that is, I think, what you saw at the table. And that's what everybody else at my table sees, is what I'm doing beyond the food is also, you're coming here for a little bit of joy. You're coming here for a bright package and a rainbow and a sticker and a smile. And it's so different because when you go to some of the other tables, or when you go to the grocery store, that interaction that you have, like when you step into, you know, a retail store, or like my grandparents' butcher shop, it's like, that's why people come. They come for that feeling, and for the feeling and the thought after they eat it. They think about, like, me and my team, when we blend, we're like, love, like we're literally screaming love. We're like dancing, you know, there's no hard feelings or, you know, no negativity in the room. And for me, as someone who suffered for so long, to have this and to give this to other people, like, this is what I want to give to everyone. And when I tell you, I get chills thinking about it. I've met hundreds of girls like me now who come up to the table and they're still struggling with being severely underweight and being bullied because of it, and having severe gut issues, and even adults too. Everyone comes to the table and they're like, I haven't pooped all month. What can you tell me? And, you know, it's funny that I've become this person because I'm out here selling cakes, and next thing you know, people are texting me for stomach advice and dietary needs, and or just for a friend. So our uniqueness in our products and our brand it's so different than going to another place, because we care about our humans. I'm not out here to make money, and it really, it's the truth. Like, I am in business. I obviously want to do well, but it was never my intention, which is kind of why I do have that when I started, it was a bit naive, and it was a bit, I got to do this because someone had to. Big food is on such a roll right now, and you have all of these healthy companies popping up, and they're making plant-based meats, and they're making test tube products, and they're covering your baby food and our kids' food and natural flavors and sugar alcohols, and it's slowly hurting us every day. And it drives me insane. But I take the anger and I turn it into love, because anger isn't received well. Anger and fury and telling people don't eat that. People would walk past my table if I was always telling them what they were doing is wrong. And I don't do that. I don't tell people to restrict their diets. I say, let's try some creative substitutions. Let's make it fun. Let's, get curious and see, like, if you tried this instead of that, how would you feel tomorrow, And doing it in a really light, fun way.
Yeah, I love that, Jennifer. Oh my gosh, turning anger into love, you see, and then you're pouring love into it when you're making it. So your product and your whole concept is just, I always say it's happy food. When I eat something sweet, oh, I've just got some happy food, because you're right. So, it's like mind munchies. Yours are like,
Mm-hmm.
because it affects our mind. And that's what regular sugar does. It's like cocaine to the brain. But if we can do it in a healthy way, it's basically it's helping our bodies, it's helping our souls, and it's also not giving us more toxins in our body. So I love that. The uniqueness is the whole story that you just shared there. That is absolutely fabulous. I love it. It's so there's a whole episode there. What can I tell you? There's a whole episode there
Yeah.
that we need to unpack and put it in your marketing, because boy, that really is an impact. And when we're here to serve, like you are, when we give, we receive. And that's what's happening, because you said from the get-go, your intention wasn't just all about the money, which is what the big food manufacturers pretty much are all about. How much can we make on this product? How much can we cut back? Where can we put in the sugar alcohols, the chemicals that will get people addicted? It's like you say, the skinny pop. Yeah, it doesn't put on weight, but you eat the whole bag. And so that's not your intention. Your intention is, I want you to eat healthy, eat it once and feel satisfied, because I know that you're going to, this is also helping your body, and you'll be back for more when you want a healthy snack. So I just love that. My God, that's a great story. So what are some of the top challenges that you faced and overcome during your very short time in business?
Yeah. So every day is a fun challenge, but the biggest challenge. So when I first came out with the bar, I was hand pressing it in this mold, and I was literally developing what a carpal tunnel. Like, I was like, I can't do this. So I started calling manufacturers and looking for machinery, and I was so shocked, because I had spoken to two of the leading companies that sell machines that make bars. There is no machine in between a $95,000 bar and Jenny's hands to make bars, which is crazy. Most people, if you see any other energy or protein bar out there, it looks like a date, kind of like a date rectangle, and they look like they've been rolled out and cut. So that's kind of the standard. A lot of bars are just rolled out, they're cut, and they're baked. But everything at Earth Sugar is raw. We don't bake anything. It's just blended and smacked together. I just get whole ingredients, pasteurized ingredients, blend it, smack it. So I needed some kind of a press. So I'm calling these companies and R&D teams, and everybody is telling me that it's going to be impossible to make my bar and scale my bar unless I add brown syrup, some type of sugar, cane sugar, some type of something to hold it together. Because the standard machine is an extruder, which pops the bars out of this small hole through pressure. Or there's another machine called a slab line, which is a big like sheeter that cuts the bars. But I love, you see my bars, they're rounded on the corners and they look handmade and they look yummy. They're different. You can see, the ingredients are chopped a bit. You can kind of see everything. And it really changes the experience, I think, and the flavor and having so much texture. So I had called about 20 places and they told Joey and I that it would be impossible to make our bar. And we were like, well, we take that as a challenge. So we go to Home Depot and we're like, all right, let's start building. We're buying plywood, we're buying metal, we're trying all these silly things. We bought like a bunch of t-shirt presses on Amazon trying to figure it out. And one day we're actually at this farmer's market, but it was a night market, so there were some new vendors that we hadn't seen before. And there was a lemonade guy right next to us. And Joey's like, Jen, look. And I look over and he's smashing the lemons to squish the juice out. And I'm like, that would smash our bar. So we go over, and luckily everybody in Arizona is so cool and so supportive of each other. He's like, yeah, take it for the weekend, see if it works. So we take this machine and we're smashing everything and we're like, it's working, like, oh my gosh. So we basically took that technology and we figured out how to make it ourselves to scale our bar. And we did that in, a couple of weeks. So now we're up to, I had hired a team. There's 3 of us now, 4 of us, including Jody. There are 3 in the kitchen every day. And we are making thousands of bar, up to 1,000 a bar a week and plus more. We're selling out of that, every weekend. So we're upping our production. We're getting more presses. But that was a huge challenge because I didn't know if it was going to be possible to make bars, but now we're kind of have our own technology. We're going to see about, making it bigger and, figuring out a better system for everything. But that was like a really huge win. Another big challenge was so when I started the company, I was working under the Cottage Pantry Act, which means in Arizona, you're 100% allowed to work out of your own home if you're working with shelf-stable products, and all of my products are shelf-stable. So I needed to find a commercial kitchen because I wanted to start shipping and, being legit. And in Arizona, there are no gluten-free vegan shared kitchens. So I am running around this whole state like a crazy maniac trying to find a place to move into. And one day I'm on Google and within I kid you not, this is where when you say the universe is on my side, a 2-hour window, the Tempest Hotel put up a listing for their kitchen. And I happened to be on that website within that window, sent them an email, got on the phone, was visiting this location the next day. So inside this hotel, it's based in Tempe. It's an adorable boutique hotel that it was an old, I believe, Holiday Inn that they completely redid. It's so cute. They have an outdoor beer garden, a nice lobby, and the kitchen has never been used before, ever. So it's completely clean, completely new. And it was built out for a raw production. There's no stove, there's no oven. So literally nobody else in the whole state could be here except for Earth Sugar. So we just moved into this space recently, the last week, and now we are fully permitted. We are FDA approved facility. I'm getting more certifications as the weeks go. But like those 2 challenges, we just figured it out. And it's so cool when they pop up and we shoot them down and we move on to the next one because, there's still stuff in our production that we have to figure out because nobody makes our products. Nobody has scaled something like this before, but it's super easy to do. I just know that I need to find the right equipment and probably the right person to come in here, see what I'm doing, and then they'll be like, oh, duh, try this, So right. Now I'm just kind of on to the next thing, figuring out the next option. But we have, quadrupled our production and even more since I started doing this by myself. I think I sold like 30 bars the first couple of weeks, and now I'm clearing 1,000 plus bars a week. hundreds of cake slices, crunchies, and selling out completely before the end of the market. So it's like it's amazing, you know. And
Yeah,
and even
it's
just coming up with
go
all
ahead.
that stuff, it's crazy, you know. It was just the first idea I came up with, so now we're just going with the flow.
Well, actually, you say it's the first idea, but it's been percolating for many years. I think it's
Yes.
just the actual product. But oh my gosh, I tell you, that is so exciting. But the machinery that you came up with, therein lies your curiosity and the power of it, because the curiosity led to the creativity. Like you were asking, how can we make this? How can we do it? How can we overcome the fact that nobody, we don't want to buy this humongous, very expensive machinery that probably wouldn't work anyway. And then, of course, you've got your space now, which, like you said, was in that window, and you just happened to be on the internet, which I don't think it was a mistake. But anyway, oh my gosh, it's just so exciting. So tell me, what has been the best part so far of being an entrepreneur? Because I know you're a newbie, but tell us what has been the best part, because a lot of people never cover that, and it is very exciting.
Definitely, it's been being able to express and get out all of my ideas. I have worked for many different people, and I've always been a really exceptional worker. I've worked extra hours. I've always had new ideas. I've always been like throwing things at the wall, being like, try this, try this. And it's hard when someone else tells you ideas and to put it in action into your own business, because, everybody has their own idea of where something go. So now it's funny, because with my team, I'll say something and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm the boss. This is weird. Like whatever I say goes. And I'm still not used to it, because I'm 26. So this is new to me. This role is so new. And what's great about my team is they are just so receptive and awesome, and they believe in me. Like I couldn't have imagined that I couldn't have picked better people to have found me, because they found me too. We found each other, and I met them and I was like, this is it. This is perfect. You guys are wonderful. And that's what I've always done. And what I want to do as a leader and an entrepreneur too is to be able to find that spark within everyone that works with me and my customers, because I've had this forever, but nobody gave me the runway to do it. And I'm sure if at my other jobs, if they had given me a little bit more of a leadership role, or if they had heard me or had respected me a little bit more, who knows what I would have been in those other jobs. But I just always felt like I was sitting there and I'm like, I have so much more inside me, and I don't even know what I am capable of yet. I need to go figure out what it is. And, people will say millennials, they don't even understand post-college. You got to do your duty, pay your time. And that to me is very silly, because I've done the jobs where I was supposed to, pay my rent and sit there. And I sat there and I wasn't learning, and I wasn't becoming a better person. I wasn't becoming, better emotionally, physically, mentally, in any aspect of my life. And to me, there was like no chance that I was going to sit there for 5 to 10 years until then I would, have roles and leadership. Because what is that? How is that earned? Like for me, going to college, getting a degree, I still didn't feel like I earned anything. And I still don't feel like I earned anything. I'm always working, and I don't want anyone to give anything to me. Even my mom and dad, I'm like, I don't want, they always joke about me, being really financially aware, and people pick on me, but it's like, I really love being able to stand up for myself and to, be my own person. And if something happens within Earth Sugar or in my own life personally, I want to be the one who can save myself too. And, it's as an entrepreneur, like being that leader now, this is everything I've ever wanted. And it doesn't feel, I know it's still early, but it's even when bad stuff happens, and even when I have really crap days where I'm like, this sucks, why do I do this? And I'm like, oh, but it's so much fun. What else would I do? Running around on Sunday doing errands and working online and doing my graphics, it's like purely what I want to do. I never did the party scene. I was not, I don't like to go out. I don't have a big friend group. And what's funny is I'm so impersonable and I love my community, but at the end of the day, I don't go home with a group of 5 girls and sit and watch back. That's never been me, because I'm just very internal sometimes, and I like to spend time with myself and my thoughts. And this earth sugar, and whatever becomes from earth sugar, is this very long mission of mine that, like you said, it's a higher power. It's something I don't even have control over. It's like, since I was a little kid, all the adults were like, you're gonna do something one day. So when people keep telling you that, you just keep believing it. And even when the negative thoughts come, which of course they do a lot all the time, but I've always just, I guess, put them on my back and carried them with me, because I don't have to turn them off. But they also don't have to shut me down. I can just kind of, be with them for a bit, and then one day they'll dissipate and they'll move on. But everybody has their doubts and their self-doubts.
I love that. Don't let the negative thoughts shut you down, because you're right. You just have to, it's not like toughing through it. It's basically, well, how do we overcome it? Because that's what happens to so many of us, especially entrepreneurs. We'll have a hard day, a hard month, maybe even a hard year. And it's been really tough in the last little while. So, I mean, to see a new budding company like yours, and you're so young and enthusiastic and giving something really good and meaningful to the world, it's so encouraging, because there is room for growth. There's so much that's happened in the last 2 years, and there's still crap that's out there that's happening. But, the world is going on, and there's fun things and there's exciting things happening. And I just love it. We have to move through the crap to find the pony in the room. That's what I say. Yeah. So you touched very briefly on your brand. And the reason I want to touch on this is because there's a lot of entrepreneurs that tune in, and branding is very important. And I know your background is in marketing, and I just love the way you have branded Earth Sugar, because it just goes with Jennifer's personality, but it also speaks to the joy that you spread with your product. So tell us how branding plays a part in your business, and also why you feel that it's important from a business point of view.
Yeah, well, branding is everything. And I've always kind of related it back to my writing. I've always been a storyteller. So, when you write a story, what is it about? Like, what are you doing? You can make treats, but like, what the heck are you doing? What's your story? What's your purpose? So I'm someone who's so transparent. I've weaved it all together to become one. And I think that's why people get such a blissful, happy, personal feel off the brand, is because all I'm doing is telling a story. And, the earth too, it sounds so silly, but people come up to me and they'll ask me, what is earth sugar? And I can't help but giggle a bit, because I'm like, earth sugar, it's kind of like fruits, but they come to the table and they know what erythritol is. They know what all the fake colors are, all the artificial sweeteners, the fake gums, the fibers. And so I kind of poke fun on that too. Like, I talk about just like, we've lost that love and that connection to the planet around us. We're always on our phones, and we're always on the computer. And then you pick up your head and there's a big fat mountain in the middle of nowhere, Arizona, or bright blue skies, or grass and trees. And humans, we're always so frustrated, and we're hawking at each other. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, take a step back and like look at what we were given, because the earth gives us everything. And I try to almost simplify everything in my brand too, when I try to make everything just super colorful, super blissful. It's very candy. It's very like, woo, even some people in the beginning, they're like, oh, it might be too gooey, gumdroppy and whatever. And I'm like, but why? Why not? Like, why not feel happy and bubbly and joyful? And the brand, when I could have gone the route of it being super, super earthy, which is what everybody wanted it. They wanted it to be earthy, greens, browns, blacks, whites. And I'm like, but the world is so vibrant. It's colorful. It's creative. And to tell you the truth, the brand is how I see the world through my lens. And it's funny because I write poetry. I'm a poet. I perform slam poetry. And I always write about, different ways to see the world. Like, what if trees grew pink leaves and honeys came from badger instead of bees? Like, I'm always kind of like playing around with different types of concepts. And it's, like Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss just started writing stuff out of nowhere of his head, or the Willy Wonka story. Those were all things that I loved. And so I feel like I'm telling one really long-winded story throughout Earth Sugar. And if I ever have my own retail space, you will see that story there. And when I launch my own cookbooks and my books, you'll see it will all be weaved together, down to the clothing that we're designing and the pantry powders and the type of, the social media stuff that we're going to start putting out. It's all going to weave together, where it's like you go to Earth Sugar and you're like, I feel like I'm stepping into a storybook, because the food is just the thing. But, there's a lot of food out there. So how do I create something that people just want to be a part of and to read about and to interact with on a level outside of just an exchange of food goods as a snack? It's like, if I can create a special, beautiful, magical place that really does feel like that through the brand, and then you get the box and you're like, oh, I feel it, I'm a part of it. And something even down to this new fun thing that we're doing is we're going to have, instead of golden tickets, we're going to do little pink tickets inside of our bars. So we'll have like little gifts so you can find the golden ticket inside and just really make it fun. We're going to do stickers in there and just, just bring that joy back.
I love it. Oh my gosh. It's so interesting, Jennifer, because you segued right into my next question without the question, because I was going to say, what is the future vision of Earth Sugar? But you started to unfold it. And oh my gosh, I am so excited, because what you're building is an experience. And it's not just about a product. It's about the experience of Earth Sugar, the experience of not just the goodness and the health, but the joy and the happiness. And like you said, the t-shirts and the cards inside the packaging, and it all becomes an experience. And oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. Making it into a story. I mean, there's even storybook potential. I mean, it's never ending.
Exactly. And another part that I'm doing too is Earth Sugar education. So I'm going to start doing like a new fruit of the week, a new, how to swap out cane sugar with a mesquite flour, or, just pretty much putting fun education around things that exist out there, but people just don't really know what to do. And I always just felt like fruits and vegetables just needed a really good PR team. Like all the snacks, the ice cream out there, they're all killing it, but no one does anything for the apples. So I'm like, if I could be that person that makes fruit and vegetables cool, that's my mission.
Oh my gosh. I just came to me the title, Fruit and Vegetables Top PR Team. Earth Sugar. Right? Top PR team. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. I see a cartoon series already. I love it. I love it.
We're making shirts. I have to pull up a picture next time I see you. You are what you eat, and I built a whole scene of dancing fruits and vegetables. I gave them all personalities. I'm printing them into stickers, making it so silly and fun.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. I can't wait to see them and have one and get one. So fun. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I've got this question, but I think you've already answered it. What are you most excited about now in your life?
Oh my gosh. I am most excited about stepping into a leader role and stepping into my true confidence in that. So like we were saying before about the asking everyone questions, Jenny a year ago would have surveyed the whole street asking questions. And then, based on every feedback I got, I'd change it and I'd switch it. And I'm noticing now that as I started Earth Sugar, I've really also changed on a personal level. I have matured and grown up so much in the last 5 years. There's been a lot of really crazy personal stuff that went on. But just the last few months, I'm noticing a shift in myself that is so cool to experience, because when you're a teenage girl, you're like, you can't even imagine when this happens. And you see it, you see other girls going through it, you see other females working through it. And I finally feel like it's happening to me. And it's so cool to be able to now kind of talk to, or kind of think of this old Jenny as almost like this old other girl, like I think back and I talk to her sometimes, and I talk to a whole bunch of students at Penn State. I'm really, really involved with the comm class there. They're actually doing their graduation project on Earth Sugar. So I zoom into the Penn State classes. I talk to a bunch of the girls. I help people with internships. And that was stuff that I always wanted to do. I remember leaving college being like, damn, I wish I had an older sister who kind of filled me in on it. But now I feel like I can be everyone's sister, to not only tell them kind of how things go, but also to be like, you're going to learn a lot of stuff and you might have to ignore all of it and go out on your own and figure out new things, which is a really crazy thing to say, but it's the truth. You leave college and you think that the world is going to be a certain way, and it changes immediately. And you're like, I'm not prepared for this. How can I ever be prepared for this? And you just figure it out. And it doesn't have to be scary, and it doesn't have to be stressful, and it could just be fun. And that to me is most exciting, where now I'm finally turning that kid who was full of creative anxiety and angst into a professional, into someone who can properly communicate their ideas, not get upset when someone tells me they're silly or they're wrong or they're not going to work. And now I know when to be like, all right, that's silly, or to be like, you know what, I'm ignoring you and I'm going to do it anyway. And here I am today. I'll never forget, I met a professional last year who told me if I started a bar company that I would fail. And that told me that, all of my ideas were kind of mediocre. And I was like, that I took that to my, my soul. And now some people will say stuff to me and I'm like, have a good day. I know I'm going to make it, and I know I'm going to find my purpose and myself. So I'm most excited to kind of be that person now, to feel like I'm a CEO and a chief confectionist, to really own that title.
Well, you're owning your leadership, which is so exciting, because that's really, it's not just leadership in business, but it's your life leadership, your own leadership, because we all have to own our, step up to our leadership, because when we don't, then life is leading us instead of us leading our lives. And that's, exactly. It's just, and it's perspective too, like how do you look at the things that have been thrown at you? Like you said, you're shifting now because you're owning your leadership. So when someone says, that's not a really good idea, or you're going to fall flat on your face, and you're like, yeah, that's your perspective, but mine is much bigger and better, so it really, really makes a difference on your perspective and your leadership. So I am so excited to just see you keep blossoming, because you're just going to be this huge beanstalk that goes right to the clouds and just keep growing. I just since I met Jennifer, which wasn't too long ago, just months ago, and she's just exploding. It's exciting to share her stories, because I'm also in Arizona, so it's like I bump into her every week at the market. So it's just fabulous. It's always something new and exciting.
Something new to tell you
new and exciting. So if you were to share your last words with our audience, what would you share? What would you like to share as your last words with our audience?
I would like to share that. So I come across like a really happy, bubbly, excited person, but the work that it took to get here, through my health, was such a deeply spiritual practice. And I feel like that's not something I get to talk about a lot, is really kind of that work that I got to do when I was living alone. I lived alone for a while. I lived alone for 4 years in LA and in New Jersey, New York, and I was in a lot of really big places, and I was a really small girl, a young girl, out there on her own, struggling really, really horribly with my stomach. And, there's some times where you feel sad and you feel like you won't make it. And I want just to tell everyone that you will always make it if you decide to. I've always wanted to live so much, to the most that I possibly can. I am infatuated with finding the ultimate Jennifer Meyers of like what that looks like to me. And it's different to everyone. And you're going to go through things that feel so impossible and that feel so shitty. And they don't have to. You can be the one who gets up one day and goes, I'm going to be the happiest person in the room now forever. And that's literally what I did. I recited mantras and I wrote it down. And like you said, this was manifested because there was no other option. I was just always like, this is what I want. This is how I want to live. I want this so bad. I want this so bad, until it starts to happen. And you don't even realize when you get there. Some days I wake up and I'm like, this is crazy. I'm going in my own kitchen in Arizona for my own company. And this is what I talked about for years upon years, until I probably pissed everyone off. But, if you want something, the only person in your way is yourself. And if you want to change, the only person in your way is yourself. And so I just want to say to everyone out there that if you have a dream and everyone's telling you no, all you need is you to say yes. So do it.
I love it. That's fantastic. Well, because we're here on the Epic Vision Zone, my last question is, if your life were an epic story, what would the title be?
Oh my goodness. My life were an epic story. That's a great question. Probably, I don't know. I always say the Chronicles of Happy J. I call myself Happy J. That's like my little nickname. Just be like, because my life really is just, it is like when I tell you I have a new story for you every week, it's like that to everyone else that I talk to. They're like, every day your life is a story, because I feel like I wake up and it's just like do, like everything I do is just so silly and fun, and I meet new people. So I would just be like the Chronicles of Happy J, like just every day a new story, a new idea, a new adventure, or, just something like that, because that's, my life is a fairy tale. I really feel like it is. And I think maybe I make it that way in my own head because I love the concept of fairy tales and stories. And so I do feel like I'm living in this really beautiful story that has all the facets, the highs, the lows, the weird in-betweens. And so, yeah, it's just a long-winded fantasy fairy tale. It is my life. I even see myself like this little Jenny walking around, like just strolling through the world. Yeah, just
well,
the creativity.
There you go. We'll have to get that on the books to be done someday. The Chronicles of Happy J. We'll make it a mini series. Why not?
Yeah, we'll do some
Anything is possible. Well, Jennifer, oh my gosh, thank you so much for being and joining us on this Epic Vision Zone and sharing your story and your products. And I encourage everyone to go to Jennifer's website, which is loveearthsugar.com. Check out not only her story and her brand, but get some of that delicious products that she makes, the bars. I mean, I'm so spoiled because I go down to the market and get them every weekend. But if you can't, there's shipping and they're just fabulous, every single thing. And I'm always excited to see what she's coming up with. And you can also access all of Jennifer's information at the Epic Vision Zone on her bio page. And be sure to follow me on Instagram at Jane Applegath and check out how you can become an epic entrepreneur at janeapplegath.com and get your free download, The Keys to Your Dreams. This is the Epic Vision Zone, transforming your dreams into epic success.